The Tennessee Vols, after being handed their first loss of the season at Arkansas last week in a game where, for Josh Heupel and his offensive standards, they looked pathetic. Whether that be because of Heupel's play calling, because of Nico and his quarterback play, or the O-line and their lack of execution, a combination of all those things led to an uncharacteristically bad performance from the Vols offense. They're going on the road in the SEC again to face the Florida Gators, a team who had no shortage of turmoil and controversy through their first couple of games. Florida fans were ready to run Billy Napier out of Florida, right? Hope was pretty much at an all-time low for this Florida team. People are pulling up stats of their record over the last 10, 15 years, going through their coaching history and their records. It's been, like I said, all hope's been lost pretty much for this Florida team. Nonetheless, Billy Napier and Graham Mertz, they just kept, and this Florida team as a whole has just kept working, kept grinding. Something that you don't normally see from Florida teams. That's a criticism from other fan bases in the SEC, the lack of the ability for Florida to bounce back. Normally if a Florida team hits a wall and hits some controversy, they crumble. Now you're seeing that from more Florida State and not the Florida Gators, right? The Florida Gators have just kept working and kept their head down. And these last couple of weeks against UCF and Mississippi State, offensively, they've looked like a completely different unit, right? They're executing at levels they were definitely not at the beginning of the season. They found their identity and what they want to do and how they want to do it. And that's where we're going to start in this video, guys, talking about this Florida offense, because I think it's the most intriguing piece to this puzzle, looking at both these teams and their offenses and defenses. This Florida offense, through the first couple of weeks, like I said, couldn't get anything done. They were trying multiple different things, trying to figure out what they were as an offense and as a unit, and nothing was sticking, guys. They were throwing shit at walls, and none of it was sticking. I think the number one reason for that, guys, is the O-line play. If you cannot block the run and you cannot protect the passer when he goes to throw, you can't do anything as an offense. It doesn't matter how good your skill players are, how good your running backs are, how good your two quarterbacks are. If your O-line can't protect them, you're not going to have any production on offense, and that's what we saw through these first couple of weeks. So the biggest difference I saw in this Florida offense is the O-line play, guys. It is allowing Florida to actually operate their offense. Now, with that being said, they've obviously been operating this offense with a two-quarterback system. I've been a part of multiple two-quarterback systems in high school and in college, and I don't like it I dislike the two-quarterback system for multiple reasons. I just want to say that first. Nonetheless, what Lagway and Graham Mertz have been doing these last 2 weeks in the quarterback system, to me, is shocking, right? And I'm going to get into why. The number one reason I dislike the two quarterback system is when, you have two guys fighting for a position in an open competition, and it's a position like quarterback, where you're going to have a group of, receivers and running backs that like this guy, and a group, the O-line, like, people pick sides, okay? That's how it is. The quarterback is the general, the commander of the team. He is like, a good quarterback is like a player coach. He's that bridge between the players and the coach and, that medium on the field. When you have two guys in a two quarterback system competing for that spot, the number one thing I see is people start playing not to make mistakes, right? When you start playing not to make mistakes, you're hesitant, you're overthinking, you're not playing as loose as you would. You're not testing that deep ball because you might throw a pick, instead of testing the deep ball because you might score a touchdown, right? Because you have your job is secured. When a quarterback or when any position doesn't think that their job is secure, the number one thing I see it leads to is, hesitancy and overthinking because you're playing not to make mistakes rather than playing loose and free and to do your job and make plays. Nonetheless, like I said, that has not been the case for either one of these quarterbacks. Specifically with Graham Mertz, I want to talk about him first because obviously he was the starter first. He's the older guy, and he has this young guy come in, Lagway, who does things that Graham Mertz doesn't. The running aspect that Lagway brings and the ability or the stress that puts on defenses, Billy Napier has used that to great effect, and that's one of the biggest reasons I think they have the two quarterback system is because the threat of that quarterback run game with Lagway, it's unbelievable. Graham Mertz doesn't have that tool. Lagway is also a younger guy. You're putting things in perspective. Are you gonna, put your resources into the 23-year-old quarterback who, is in his last year, or are you gonna invest and use this as, a development year for Lagway, right? This is things that's going on in the thought process, or if I was Graham Mertz, I'd be thinking, I'm like, shit, I'm about to lose my job. Nonetheless, Graham Mertz kept working, and he's looked, I would say, even better than he has through these last two games than he has last season, and what we thought Graham Mertz was going to be this season. I think he's exceeded those expectations through these last two games, and it's been really impressive to see how Graham Mertz has taken on the challenges and the criticisms and kept working through all of this and has been performing at the level that he has. Now, obviously, with the Billy Napier offense, they're going to want to run the ball and then stretch the field vertically with the play action after that. Like I said, with the O-line being as bad as it was, you were not able to run the ball on anybody. The last couple of weeks, this Florida run game has solidified itself and started to get churning, and it's opened up everything else that this offense does. This offense, these last couple of weeks, if you allow Florida to get ahead and do what they want to do offensively, you're going to be in for a tough game. If Florida has the chance to run the ball, pass when they want with play action, dink and dunk down the field with Graham Mertz, use the quarterback run game with Lagway, they're a tough team to stop. When I'm breaking down film watching these games, guys, the number one thing I look for is, does this team make self-inflicted mistakes? How many? And do they fix them over the course of week 1, week 2, week 3? This Florida defense, they cannot tackle. D-line making, I see a lot of guys taking plays off. The Florida defense has not improved like this Florida offense. And if you go back and watch UCF and Mississippi State, these running backs, they're running straight through 3, 4, or 5 Florida defenders. When you're facing Tennessee's rushing attack with Dylan Sampson and Bishop, two very physical running backs, you cannot arm tackle. You have to be a sure tackling unit. And when you're talking about a Tennessee offense where everything is set up off of the inside run, if you allow Tennessee's offense to get that going, it could be a long night for Florida. And like I said, Florida has to play ahead. This Tennessee offense, as explosive as it is, relies on the inside run. If you are missing tackles and you're not a sure tackling unit, you can see Tennessee's offense, start to explode production-wise because of the success of the inside run. Now, in both the Arkansas game for Tennessee's offense and the Oklahoma game, they couldn't get that run going for nothing. Tennessee's O-line has not met expectations in any regard. Now, that Arkansas D-line and front seven that they played last week is one of the most underrated in all of college football, one of the best in the SEC, a unit that had faced a lot of great O-lines through the first couple of weeks of the season. Nonetheless, that Tennessee O-line did not answer the call. They did not perform to standard at all. Now, the question for that Tennessee O-line, is that going to be a one-week thing? Are they going to take that and use that as motivation and fuel to perform well against this Florida team? Or is that who they are? Right? So that is the number one red flag for me for this Tennessee offense, is that O-line and their execution. Guys, they have to be able to block. I don't want to hear this stuff from Josh Heupel about they're giving different fronts and different looks. If you can't block a three-man front, you're not going to win a national championship. So you're going to have to go ahead and get that figured out anyways, Josh. And, of course, like I mentioned earlier, the Josh Heupel play calling has been a problem in big games. I've criticized him against after the Oklahoma game. And people were saying, both Tennessee and Oklahoma fans coming to Heupel's defense, saying that, it was an emotional game, X, Y, and Z, he called it that way. He kept the dogs off because he didn't want to show other teams, what we had. Fast forward to Arkansas, you're waiting for this offense to get going, and the pedal was just never put to the metal. We never accelerated as an offense. We were stuck in the mud the entire game. Like I said, a lot of that was because of the O-line, but Josh Heupel, his play calling in big games is an issue, and Tennessee fans will know this, and Florida fans will know this if they go back or they remember last year's game with Florida at Tennessee, right? Josh Heupel, game clock mismanagement, play calling, questionable play calling, especially on third down, third and medium. Really holding back the Tennessee team. So those are my two big things with this Tennessee offense. Defensively, I don't think that Tennessee is going to have as much of a problem stopping the run of Florida's running attack. Tennessee's D-line, it's no secret how skilled they are. Tennessee's linebackers, Keenan Peely and Carter, they have not impressed me so far this season. Keenan Peely is 26 years old. There's starting NFL linebackers older than this guy. I need to see some more development from him in the passing game. As far as Carter goes, the other linebacker for Tennessee, he needs to be more disciplined in his assignment. He needs to play under control. He's playing like a bat out of hell. Like he's just going 100 miles an hour. He's overrunning stuff. Nonetheless, I just say that to say this. The front seven for Tennessee's defense is stout. It's one of the best in the SEC. With that being said, this linebacker play has not met the standard, or has not met the same level of play as their D-line. Nonetheless, I don't think they're going to have an issue stopping this Florida run because of the depth and the skill from that Tennessee D-line. But this game's going to come down to who can stop the run, right? Because both of these offenses rely so heavily on the run. Getting into my prediction, it's going to be a 10-point win for Tennessee. Like I said, when I break down these games, the number one criteria is self-inflicted mistakes and are those improved over multiple weeks. This Florida defense just is not good enough to stop Tennessee, no matter how many points this Florida team is going to put on the board. This Tennessee defense is built to complement the offense. They're going to be able to rear their pass rushers back and rush the passer if Tennessee gets a lead. And, like I said, this Florida defense makes too many basic mistakes. Taking plays off, missed tackles. The secondary doesn't play well in the passing game. For all those reasons, this is going to be a 10-point win for Tennessee on the road at Florida. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know who you think is going to take this game at Florida. They've been looking good the last couple of weeks. Tennessee, against both Oklahoma and Arkansas, they have not met expectations offensively. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below, how this game's going to go, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.